Hey, y'all. Thanks again for listening to Drew Tessier's Mostly Queer Comedy Podcast. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review. You can follow me at Drew Tessier NYC. And if you want to see it live, you can watch this on YouTube. It's Drew Tessier's Mostly Queer Comedy Show. Let's talk, y'all. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Drew Tessier's Mostly Queer Comedy Show, where we interview famous queer comedians. I am so excited to have the fabulous Lady Bushra with me today. This interview has been in the works longer than the podcast has even existed. So you and I started chatting online a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I mean, it's been a minute.
Yeah. We've been talking since I think like April of 2024, this year.
Yeah. Has it all been this year? God, it feels like it's been so long.
I think so. I don't know. But then at the same time, it feels like as if I've known you forever.
Well, we have been working together a lot, almost since you hit the ground in New York. We put you on a show. Now, Lady Bushra is here in New York as an artist in residency. So go ahead and tell them about kind of what's going on with that.
Well, yes, my name is Lady Bushra. I am a drag artist, stand-up comedian from the UK, based in Manchester. I'm of obviously South Asian heritage. And I am here on an O1B visa, which is code for Artist of Extraordinary Ability. And so I have my residencies here in New York, so I'm just sort of working, hustling, seeing what this chapter of my life looks like.
And where are those shows at?
So I do my monthly shows at the Laurie Beachman Theatre, as well as Don't Tell Mama. So they're two separate shows. One's Drag Comedy Cabaret, and the other one is Sorry About It. And then obviously doing spots of stand-up comedy, obviously with yourself at the Queer Comedy Festival. And yeah,
most importantly, I've been putting it to work as quickly as possible, both in my weekly show at Greenwich Village Comedy Club, as well as she headlined at Broadway Comedy Club last week as part of the New York Queer Comedy Festival. But I want to go way back. I mean, you have a really large social media presence. Okay, she says.
Define that.
I know it's subjective, but
by comedian standards, yeah.
Larger than mine, smaller than Joe Rogan's. But which came first, the social media stuff or the drag performance?
I think it was kind of in tandem. Because I was a COVID queen. I started doing drag during COVID.
Sure.
So I always knew that I needed something to give me an edge over other queens. Because like in the UK, you will have really well-seasoned queens who have been around for 10, 15 years, and they will have about 3,500 followers, and that's considered good. They will be able to fill a room, it's absolutely fine. But I knew that me being somebody of South Asian heritage, having a South Asian point of view is not as easy of a sell in the Western Hemisphere. And that's absolutely fine, it's just a reality, right? So then I thought to myself, what can I bring to the table that's more than just being a drag queen? So the social media following has helped that. So I love creating content. My husband and I, we do a lot of it together. I love creating and making people laugh. So people sort of resonated with that. And that's what led to people booking me for shows. It was social media.
So she mentioned her husband. Your out of drag name is Amir. Your husband's name
is also Amir.
So,
and we're cousins.
And
we had a lot of land in the family, so we did a Downton Abbey.
It's really fun. I love being able to say, the Amirs are coming over today, or I'm going to work with the Amirs today. They've also been helping me with my social media as well, but they are you and your husband are such a great team. I mean, you're sort of this social media power couple. In a way, like I love how you guys really kind of bounce ideas off of each other, and it's sort of like a group effort in creating. Because I think all of us know that that work in entertainment, it is so much fucking work.
Yeah, I mean, like they say, it takes a village,
sure,
right? And also, like,
so you have a whole village of Amirs back.
Yeah, I just like duplicate. No, the thing is, like, it does take a village. I can't do it without him. I don't want to do it without him. And also, like, it's a creative process that everyone can be part of. I think it's like, say, for example, actors in films. You know, all the good actors will say that there is too much emphasis on the actor. You have to pay your dues and thank the lighting, the sound, director, producer, the showrunners, is everybody.
Right.
It's just the you just see the icing on the cake. And it's the same with drag as well. You know, me and my husband will sit down, we will sort of riff ideas, we'll sound things off. He will be my director, he will be my producer, and so on and so forth. And then, there's so many other people who sort of help me support with design and artistry and costume and jewelry and so on and so forth.
And the two of you had a podcast together.
Me and Amir, yeah. We have a podcast together called You Don't Love Me, because that's our safe word whenever we argue. Because it's like, if the argument's getting too high, you have to question the fundamentals. So you kind of go, if anything happens, we're like, you don't love me. And it's like, no, I love you. You're just annoying me right now. So then that kind of became our thing. So,
oh, that's great.
yeah, people think it's from Pheromone from Drag Race, but it's not. No, screw her. I know. It's and it's all about sort of life from the perspective of a South Asian married couple. We are on hiatus, but we are coming back very, very shortly.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, do you do?
What about you?
No, it's not. This is my
What's your
show.
life
We're
about?
not talking
Why
about
are
me.
you
In fact,
the
that's the
way
note I get
you
too much.
are?
Is I talk too much about myself when I'm doing the podcast.
No, but you should though, because we're friends. Tell me about your life.
No. We're not doing
okay,
that.
Fine.
So what
Back to me.
You are from? You have to, and I'm going. There are going to be several questions I ask that you will just have to forgive my American ignorance. Starting with the first one. So you are from Manchester.
No. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. No, originally I'm from a small town called Keighley, which is in the district of Bradford. Nobody knows where Keighley is, so I always say that I come from Bradford, because it's that district. So that's in West Yorkshire. Mm-hmm. So I'm a northern country boy at heart.
And how far is that from London?
About 5 hours drive.
Okay, so how do you perform primarily in the north, not a whole lot in London?
Yes and no. So, because the UK is really small, a lot of the queens will travel for work. That's just really normal. So I grew up in Bradford, but I moved to Manchester, and that's where that's where my drag took off. So I am technically a Manchester queen. And then Manchester is about 4.5 hours away from London. So I would do my regular shows in Manchester and London, but Cardiff, Birmingham, Sheffield, Scotland, it was very normal for me to sort of go up and down the country. I was very fortunate that way to sort of be a relatively known entity in the
And
UK.
primarily solo shows for the most part, or do you do?
I started off doing variety shows. That's how most queens start off. But then, as things started progressing, it became apparent that I needed my own show. And people were sort of interested in me being front and center, which I'm told is a good thing. So I was like, okay, fine, we'll do that. But I love working with drag queens. And that's the reason why I love working with you and being with fellow comedians, because there's just such camaraderie, and there's something magical about being in that sort of combined creative space.
Well, you've been very sheltered so far. You've met primarily my core group of friends who are very collaborative and cool. And those are the type of artists I do try to sort of, and you included, that I do try to gather and keep near me. But there are pockets of the scene in New York that aren't quite as kumbaya.
Well, we don't have to. It's a big city. We don't have to meet everyone. It's fine. Okay. But that's the thing, though. When it comes to creativity, right? You only want to work with the people that you get along with. And I've spoken to directors and producers and whatever, and that's what seems to be a common thread. Because especially a city like New York, I mean, my gosh, talk about being humbled. It's full of talented people. There are so many gorgeous, stunning, not as stunning as my husband, but
He is very cute.
Gorgeous people with a lot of talent, with great CVs, but ultimately it's about who do you want to work with, who do you get on with, who can you afford to spend 3 days, a week, a month, a year with, and if you don't get along, then,
I mean, that's been my dream my whole life. I just want to work with my friends. I just want to create art
Yeah.
with my friends for the rest of my life.
That's
And
why I work with my husband.
yeah.
I love him.
Now, how did you guys meet?
We met in. Let me get the story straight. We met in my hometown, actually. We met through a mutual friend who we're no longer friends with anymore. That's a common theme, so let's see how well this goes. Lovely guy, great time, but we didn't like each other to begin with. You know, as fate would have it, I finished university, got a job, moved back to my parents' house, which was not in the cards. But that's what happened, and then there weren't that many gay people around, so like we sort of banded together, but we didn't like each other to begin with. But when I saw him for the first time, I did recall seeing him in school. We went to the same school. He was a few years younger than me, but he doesn't recall me from school. And then
Well, you probably looked a little different.
slightly, yeah. My eyelashes used to be smaller. And then he thought I was a little bit, uppity and, up myself. And I thought he was a little bit, out there and, sort of a little too extroverted. And then I was like, oh, I don't think we're ever going to see each other again. And then as fate would have it, we saw each other. And I was with my best friend on a night out at the time. And he was like, oh, Amir looks really cute. And I was like, yeah, he does. And then, he is my spiritual partner. He really, really is. I think our relationship has progressed into something that I never thought would have existed. It's sort of beyond the physical. He wants to see the best for me, and I sure as hell want to see the best for him.
And how long have you been married now?
We've been married for almost 5 years, I think. Or I think it has been 5 years.
And how long did you date before that?
So combined 10 years. It'll be 10 years at the end of this year.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that like we are a old married couple now.
Now, and both of you are, here comes another one of those ignorant American questions. So, you always say of East Asian descent.
South Asian.
I'm so sorry. You always say of South Asian
Get
descent.
him cancelled.
I know, it's awful. It's going to get worse.
Find him
yet.
on LinkedIn. Okay.
And you still consider yourself Muslim?
No.
No.
So I grew up in an ultra-Orthodox household.
Okay.
So it was sort of borderline cult, I'd say. And I thought that was just what Islam was like. I was like, okay, that's it. Turns out that's not the case because like I have a lot of Muslim friends and when we talk, they're like, yeah, that wasn't the same experience for me. But I did grow up in a very Orthodox household. So like it was a specific rule set. You wake up at a certain time, you sleep at a certain time, you use this hand for this, and very, very heavy on indoctrination. But I think, and Dad, if you're watching, sue me, whatever. But I do think a lot of it was spearheaded by my father's narcissistic traits. So it wasn't a very pleasant experience, and so I often convoluted that with what it means to be Muslim.
And how many brothers and sisters?
So we're 4 in total. So I have an elder sister, elder brother, and a younger brother. But what I realized over time was I just don't align with the faith, and I don't think there's any harm in that. There's no criticism from my side towards Islam, and we can sort of coexist. I always say there's 2 ways of living the same life because the end goal is the same, which is death.
Right.
So like. Grew up Muslim, and of course, South Asian culture is part of my heritage, clearly.
Sure.
And yeah, I'm a deeply spiritual being, but I don't have a religious affiliation.
Are you close with your parents?
No. My parents kicked me out in 2016.
And how old were you at that point?
I think it was 2016, or was it 2015? I can't remember.
This is after you'd gone to university and came back?
Yes, yeah. So it was 2015, I believe. Yeah, it was 2015. In my family, first cousin marriages are very common, and it's a very it's not something to be frowned upon. So like when children are very young, there will be sort of paired off.
Right.
So it's like, oh, he'll marry him and he'll marry him and blah, blah, blah. And they don't think anything of it. And you know.
But usually he'll marry her, most likely, right?
Yeah. that kind of thing. But very southern like that. No,
like, wow, that's very progressive.
So
arranged, the Islamic arranged gay marriages of Manchester. Tell me more.
I would have loved an arranged marriage. Like as long as it meant I'd meet my husband. Because I would have had my full fantasy. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so shy. Dad chose him. No, but so that was really common. And so I started feeling this marriage pressure from my family, from my parents. And I was like, this is not going to happen. And they were like, why? And it built up over weeks and weeks. And then I was like, I'm gay.
So they had already been trying to pair you off with
I always knew that me as a gay creative, I knew that I was I knew that was at odds with my parents' values. So I always knew that our relationship was going to have an expiry date. I knew that was going to be inevitable.
Right.
And call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, but that's exactly what happened.
Right.
And you know, when I came out to them, it was kind of, they were in disbelief. There was a lot of back and forth, and then something happened. And you know, as classic as it is with narcissists, they don't want it to go out. So my dad was like, "Are the rumors that I'm hearing about you true?" And I was like, "What rumors? I've already told you,
right,
that I take it up the backside. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we know." And he was like, "Well, if what I'm hearing is true, then here's the door. Get out. And if somebody dies, then you can come back. Otherwise, I don't want to hear from you." And he was true to his word. When my granddad passed away, that's the last time I sort of had some level of interaction with him. But it's been a good, I'd say, 7-8 years that I haven't sort of had any interaction with them. But through therapy, through a lot of work, I've realized that, you know, there is this overemphasis on sexuality. It wasn't just sexuality. I think even if they were to accept me for my sexuality, I did grow up in quite a pressure cooker environment, which is why I'm funny and I can do comedy.
Sure.
Because tragedy plus time, right? So I thought to myself, even if we could look past the sexuality, I think it's probably in everybody's best interests that I keep a respectful distance. It's no longer about them kicking me out. It's about my self-preservation and me doing what I need to do in order to get to where I want to get to.
I totally understand that. Now, what about Amir? Does he have a relationship with his family at all?
Well, you'd have to ask him, but I'm sure he doesn't mind sharing a little bit with you. He did have a relationship of sorts with his mum and with his siblings. But over time that has eroded. I think there's something to be said about, you know, being gay, but then sort of being open with your story and being on a public platform.
I mean, I would imagine, because there's just so many layers. I mean, there's being gay.
Yeah.
Then there's doing drag.
And
then there's having a public platform, you know, so I can understand. I'm sure that Southern Christianity and UK Islamism. I told you I was going to fuck this up. You are this
close to being beheaded.
I told you it would happen. There are similarities with the religious trauma involved.
Yeah, well, I'm really popular with the Mormons as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's
the magic underwear.
No, it's the religion. It's the religious aspect. It's people coming from sort of Abrahamic faiths and sort of religious backgrounds that sort of have a heavy dose of indoctrination going around.
Are there a lot of Mormons in UK?
No, in the US.
Okay.
We're in America right now.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Now, that's actually a perfect transition. What made you take your show on the road? Because when you and I were speaking a while back, I thought the residency was like a month or a month and a half, but you're kind of here for like a year or two indefinitely, right?
Yes.
I mean, things are going so well there. Why pack up and try it from scratch?
Well, it's always good to end on a high. I mean, it's not goodbye. It's not goodbye to the UK. I mean, obviously UK is home. Who knows what will happen tomorrow? I am sort of planning a tour for next year, so I will be back, of course. But the base has shifted for now. It really has, and it kind of gagged a lot of my fellow creative friends in the UK. They were like, "Wait, what? What's going on? You're actually going?" I did do well in the UK. I did, and I am forever grateful for anyone who's ever booked me and anybody who ever came to any one of my shows. I did start getting to. I started getting to a point where I felt like I was a big fish in a small pond, and I say that with utmost humility. But that's how I felt. You know, it kind of got to the point where I knew my routine, and I would just go into a venue and I would just do it. And then that's it. That was it. I wanted to be in an environment where I would be challenged, and I would be in an environment where I was almost starting again. And that's what I'm doing right now in New York. I mean, New York is really competitive, and my gosh, some of the comedians they're incredible. Like they're just so quick witted, sharp. Point of view is all down, and that's the sort of environment that I wanted to be in. I mean, you know, I'll be honest with you, like my remuneration was similar to some of the Rue girls, and I know that on you know on good account. So then I thought to myself, you know, what can I do to sort of shock my system and not get too comfortable? And I think as a creative, that's really important for artists as well. I think it's important not to get too comfortable because you inevitably end up stunting your own growth.
And do you want to do? I mean, is New York the beginning? Are you planning shows outside of New York within the United States?
Well, watch this space. Yeah. I think for now, definitely New York. But I'm again, touch wood, grateful. There is interest from like other states and stuff. I'm gonna take my time. For now, if anybody wants to see me, book a flight, come see me in New York, and then I'm sure I'll probably head over to other states, and that's quite common here, isn't it? Like people just get on a flight and just go.
Well, that's the interesting thing about the New York comedy scene is because there's so much opportunity to get up constantly, not necessarily to make a lot of money getting up constantly, but you know if you're willing to do shit for free, you can get up as much as you possibly can handle, you know, maybe, you know, 4 or 5 shows a night just bouncing around. The money is out on the road.
Yes.
But the road sucks and it's not New York. And then, you know, so it's sort of this. So I think the people that I know that are doing the most work, you know, you've met Gus Constantelli's a couple times.
I love Gus.
Everybody loves Gus.
My gosh, what a phenomenal artist. And so lovely as well.
Yeah, he is.
So lovely.
I met Gus the first year of the festival. Actually, he had not even moved to New York from LA yet, and we had met through Instagram, and we were kind of chatting with each other, and then he ended up getting second place the first year of the festival. He was robbed. I mean, robbed in a way that I wish it would have gone to somebody who, in fact, went on to be a full-time comedian, especially at the level that Gus is at now.
So what's the T who won?
His name is Sean Barry Parsons, and he's got a pretty big social media following at this point, but he sort of decided really quickly that stand-up comedy wasn't what his interest was, and so be it. And meanwhile, Gus has just skyrocketed in the last 5 years. But I mean, he's performing in Greece, he's performing in LA, he's performing Canada, everywhere. But you know, it's, as he says, it's him in a hotel room, you know. And I think I love, you know, I've said, as I said before, I love you and Amir's relationship, and my fantasy would be if I were going to do more shows on the road, which we've started doing. We just took some shows to Denver. I've got some stuff planned in Florida and New Orleans, but I would love to have my boyfriend with me, you know, all the time as well. And we're actually talking sort of engagement stuff at this point as well.
Oh my God, yes, I will perform at your engagement. Yes. Booking confirmed.
Yeah, get your license. You can do the wedding. It was supposed to be. So I actually, you know, being a Southern boy, I ran it by his mother and his father first, and sort of, you know, kind of got what I hope is a blessing. It was at least an acknowledgement. And then
They should turn up with a picket sign. You're like,
no,
good enough for me.
His family's very cool. I'm very lucky. They're really cool people.
He is lovely.
He is the loveliest.
Yeah, he's such a sweetheart.
Yeah, I do not deserve him. He is so wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. No, he's really sweet. I really like him, yeah.
But then an aunt sort of let the cat out of the bag last week and sort of send a text of, "Oh, I hear you guys are talking marriage." So, so now we're talking marriage. I wanted.
So
There
are you
hasn't been
guys-
an actual on the knee yet or anything yet, but
Okay, so that is so gay. Like, because, like, in straight world, you born, you go to school, you go to university, you find somebody, get engaged, get married, have a child,
we
die.
probably will. Well, right, sure,
Die.
right.
But, like, you've not even done a pre-engagement. You've done, like, you've warmed up the engagement.
Concepts
ready
of a plan.
yet
We
to
have
engage.
concepts of a plan
But
going right
because
now.
you're a chaotic homosexual, you're already talking wedding, and I'm officiating it.
Yes,
I
we're
love
there.
that.
It's all.
love
Well,
that.
we also recently did a cooking show together. So
Yes.
I'll let you do the cooking for the. We'll put you to work. You can wait tables, fold napkins.
Wow! Wow! Do I look like waitstaff to you? Is that what it is? I am dressed like as if I own a very fancy Indian
Very
restaurant.
a very fancy
right?
one.
I'm dressed like, I have lived the life of an artist, and now I just want to share my skill, my gifts to the
Do
world.
you know where we should film something for you?
No.
Down on the Lower East Side. I don't know if you've been introduced to these yet. There's this string of Indian restaurants that are.
23rd Street.
Is it that far up? I thought it was way farther down than that. But like, the whole inside looks like a taxi cab. I mean, it's full of Christmas lights and it's really bright and it's crazy. And the guys come running out because they're like. I don't know if they're in cahoots or whether they are in competition, but the idea is supposed to be that when you walk by this string of restaurants, they all run out and they try to grab you to come to their restaurant and not the restaurant next door. And it was very popular when I was in my 20s because it's also inexpensive. So it's a great place to take a big group of like people in their 20s to do kind of a birthday party type thing. And it's so, for me, who is sort of a maximalist and more is more, I mean, I love the beads and the lights and the craziness.
So what exactly is it that you'd have me do there?
I don't know, some sort of content, some sort of fun.
Just wait tables or
No.
I thought I was going to be in...
Well, you said you were looking for work. I'm just trying to spitball here.
Oh, I'm always looking for work. I'm notorious for not saying no.
No,
If there's a gig, I will do it.
People that know me say I never quit working. You and Amir never quit working. It is just nonstop with... and again, you're right. I should somehow find a way to interview him. I should have had you both. I talked about that. But I want to know, because he's got a pretty big social media following as well.
Yeah.
And is it just for being cute and fabulous, or...
I think he would like to think it's because he's a great human being, but it's probably that. No, he's very much into his spirituality and being sort of introspective, and I think it's just his way to sort of document himself as well as his fitness journey. He's really passionate about the impact fitness has on one's mental well-being.
Totally.
And I think it's one of those things that's just sort of authentically grown for him. But like loads of people, like yourself, they're like, oh, we have to have him on, or he has a following, what does he want to do with it? And his answer is often nothing. Like, he's not, I'm the starlet, do you know what I mean? I'm the aging starlet who wants to be famous. He's cool, he's just doing his thing. And I think as my profile has grown, he's been more and more. I mean, like in the UK, like I know we hang out together here, but like in the UK, it got to a point where like you'd hardly see him. Like I would just go and do the gig, come home, routine and stuff. People are like, oh, where's Amir? And I'm like, probably asleep. He's like, but it's 7:30. I'm like, yeah, he's meditating, chilling, having his, living his best life.
I love that. Do you intend? Did you ever audition for UK RuPaul?
Am I allowed to say?
Well, that's what we don't have to.
Do we care?
We can cut this.
What's the UK gonna do? Anyway, yes, I did.
Okay.
I did audition 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
The first time was awful, like beyond awful. It was so bad, to the point where like me and Amir, we will put it on TV if we just want to laugh. Like we're like, come on, bring out season 3. So that was the first time. Second time, I really leaned into my character. So I used to I still do it sometimes, but like I used to do the voice and like I used to talk like as if I was from Bradford. So I did the audition in that voice, in that character voice, and I think that's where they started to show interest. Then the time after that, I was trying way too hard and it didn't come across as authentic. Then the time after that, I was like, this is it, I'm on.
Not as understated as what we have before us today.
Yeah, yeah, and I used to be a bearded drag queen. So I used
Oh,
to have a
sure.
beard
That's
and
right. I
stuff.
have seen some of the pictures with you with the
Yeah,
beard.
and then when I didn't get on, I was like, oh, okay, I think it's not going to happen for me. And then this time gone, I auditioned and obviously I've not been successful. But I have to say, like, you know, I'm never going to say no to an opportunity. So I will audition, of course. But, like, for me, hand on heart, like, it's not a be all or end
Yeah,
all.
sure.
Like, I'm not doing drag for the sake of getting on the biggest reality TV show on earth. Like that's not the case. Like I love RuPaul. I love RuPaul's Drag Race. Absolutely love the franchise, and they have, you know, I wouldn't have been able to do drag had it not been for somebody like RuPaul, because it's so important to see a successful person of color in that position so that I know that it's worthwhile, you know?
Right.
So it's great to see, and, you know, even if I, you know, end up getting my Netflix special and never being on RuPaul's Drag Race, that's absolutely fine.
But you are planning to audition for U.S. Drag Race as well?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I would. I think I will throw my hat in the ring, but I, you know, I make jokes about this, and you've seen me when I do my stand-up routine when I make Drag Race jokes, but I do really mean it, and that is, I don't know whether I would fit in or
Right.
not. I genuinely don't know, because, like, you know, a lot of the drag queens, they are career queens in a different way.
Well, they would
now.
definitely, at least for the competition, they would immediately start changing everything about you. I mean, because they would want to see variety, and they would want to
Yeah,
see.
but that's not me. Like and I don't think it works with stand-up comedy. I think in stand-up comedy, like, you want a point of view, and especially if you're giving it a character, you need an element of continuity. You do. That's my personal opinion. Otherwise, you're wearing a different colored wig, different leotard, different personality. You know, then you just become generic McNobody. I'm sorry, but, like, you just do. So for me, leaning into the South Asian attire, kind of looking like, you know, a stage performer with the floral hair and the flat wig, that's just how I express myself as a comedian.
I have to ask. So the other night, you told me that you were considering throwing your hat in the ring, and I was hanging out with Bobby Hankinson, David Mills, and Jeremy Crittenton, and had mentioned it to them, and we were several cocktails deep at this point, and I want to tell you, we probably had a good solid 10-minute conversation of, like, who you should be for Drag Race. I mean, for Snatch Game. And now I can't even remember who we came up with. David had a really good idea. Who have you thought about?
Well, I can't.
You can't
that
tell
would be
me.
telling. That would be telling.
All right.
But I've done loads of characters before in my previous auditions. But I'm scared to say them because, like, I think if those tapes saw the light of day, I'd probably get cancelled. But one of my funniest ones, and I say funniest in the sense that, like, I mean, it's so obnoxious, but it's just me and my husband watching it and laughing, is when I did Priyanka Chopra. Do you know Priyanka Chopra?
I think that may have been one of the
One of the ones
that was thrown around.
because she went through a phase. I love her, but she went through a phase where the Indian South Asian diaspora hated her, and I don't know why, but they just did. And, you know, she was working hard making the transition from India to the US, so she had to sort of sell herself on network television and, you know, go on Ellen and all the shows. And so obviously, like, she developed, like, a Western vernacular. So, like, instead of, like, talking like this, it was like, oh my God. And, like, you know, so people were like, oh, she's fake. Like, what's wrong with her? And that was a really interesting, fun, chaotic period in her life. And that's what I wanted to capture in my Snatch Game. Where, like, she used to just go on TV and be like, oh, I'm just a girl. And it's like, okay, well, what else are you? Like, no. It's like, I'm just, you know, like, but then also she couldn't, because she was such a superstar, it was hard to talk about her success without sounding obnoxious, because it was just the truth. So she was like, yeah, I was Miss World in 2000. I'm
Right.
just a girl. And, like, I was the biggest Bollywood star in India. And people were like, who do you think you are? You know what I mean? We don't know who you are. So it was really, really, really funny time.
Now, do you ever get any hate? I mean, do you ever have people that I mean, because you do walk a line of, you know, sort of honoring your heritage Do you ever have people that complain that you're lampooning your heritage?
Not so much lampooning. I think there are some South Asians who find it necessary to police me. And I think my theory is the reason why they do that is because they're looking at me and going, "This is why my visa's not getting approved." You know what I mean? There is this like sense of like collective mentality where everybody's like, "Okay, so this is how you're supposed to be in these spaces," and I often equate it to sort of white people and queer South Asians interacting. Some people think that there is a real strong division between the two. And I'm talking, racial bias and racism aside. People just think that there is this division. And I'm like, guys, no, it's all in your head. Like, it's not true. It's not real. And I think that's the time where I get some backlash where people are like, oh, no, you shouldn't wear this. And imagine doing this in the West. And what if it was the other way? And I'm like, you need to chill out because nobody cares. It's all a conspiracy in your head.
Right.
Aside from that, recently I had MAGA on my case. So
because of the Melania Trump video?
No, well that was one, and then I did another one. I did the trend where people will say something from the perspective of something. So like, it would say, "Oh, all dogs are horrible," and the camera turns and it's a cat, and it's like as if she's typed it. Right. So I did it where I wrote, "Oh, drag queens are perfectly safe around children," and then I turned the camera and it's a picture of me, and MAGA did not like that. That did not go down well. So there was a lot of like DM messages and comments, and that was crazy. And then aside from that, like, you might have the odd sort of religious person having an opinion, but it's a drop in the ocean.
I knew a lot of odd religious people with opinions where I was from.
but it's a drop in the ocean, and the reason why I don't clap back often is because they're not paying your bills. It's just not worth your while. And also, I read this in a book, right? And it said, because I was like, are people just really miserable? Like, what is with the comment section? What happens? Not necessarily on my videos, but like, on other videos, like what's going on? And I read in this book about narcissism, what they said was that social media is another outlet for narcissists. And so people in the comment section who are saying things that are untoward, it's because they are narcissists and they just want that attention.
Right.
And so the worst thing you can do is starve them of that attention. Like when the whole MAGA thing happened, people would come into my DM saying, "Why aren't you interacting with my comments?" And I'm like, because I have bills to pay. Who are you? Like, do you know what I mean? So it genuinely doesn't faze me. Really doesn't faze me.
So here in New York for the upcoming period, you've got your residency, you've got the shows that you're doing with me and kind of other, already today, I think Jeremy Crinton mentioned that he wants you on his new show.
I love Jeremy.
We all love Jeremy. So it's happening. You're definitely starting to dip your toe into the New York waters of the queer comedy scene. What's next?
What is next? A lot of stuff is in the pipeline, but I think right now I just want to sort of focus on comedy, focus on stand-up comedy, do my cabaret shows, touring the UK next year, and sort of just take my show to different states and different places, and keep on entertaining the masses and find my way to television. I really want to do my stand-up special. I want to do a stand-up special on television. That's one of my big goals. I would love to do like a theatre tour. That's what I'm queen of delusion. So like I am pushing myself, and I really want to do it. So yeah, that's the type of stuff.
And then maybe run for president. We'll let anyone do it. So it's
no. I want to be first lady.
First lady, all right.
Have you learned nothing from Melania Trump? She is team not involved, but she gets all the perks. I love her.
So you have to go back, become a mail order bride, then get into...
Oh no, I'm here. I'm ripe and ready. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I love having you on my shows. I love talking to you today. Thank you so much for coming in and doing this. Queer comedy every single Wednesday night at Greenwich Village Comedy Club. You're very likely to see her on one of my shows. And plug your socials.
You can see me on Instagram at lady.bushra for all my shows. Head over to my website, ladybushra.com. And if you can't find that, Google my name. You'll find me everywhere. And also, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. And I really genuinely adore our friendship
Me
and our
too.
budding relationship. I am really, really grateful to have met somebody like you here. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for listening. You guys have been amazing. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
It's Drew Tessier's mostly queer comedy show.